And for more, DD India correspondent Akshay Dongare joins us from New Delhi. Akshay, can you give us a context of the brutal violence in El-Fasher in Sudan?
Well, the conflict goes several decades back. In fact, since the independence of Sudan from the British Empire, then the earlier, even before the breakup of Sudan into South Sudan and Sudan, there were conflicts taking place between different ethnic groups of Sudan. Now, the northern part was more aligned towards the Arab countries, and the southern part was more aligned to the African continent, the African nations, and the African identity as well. So. Over the period of decades, there were several civil wars that also led to the breakup of South Sudan. That always complained and that always accused the northern forces of not sharing the sort of governance with them, and then also trying to ethnically cleanse the population there of South. So after the breakup of South Sudan and Sudan, the sort of problems that remained there, Shubhendu, still exist, and there are ethnic divides there that are still quite persistent. And now, after the conflict broke out a couple of years back between the RSF, that is the paramilitary forces, and the Sudani Armed Forces, there were areas where both the sides had strongholds. The RSF was more strong in the west, and that was also near the Arab nations, and the SAF, the Sudanese Armed Forces, were more concentrated in the southern parts, where they had more support from the local population as well. So this is an ethnic divide, then ethnic sort of a conflict that has been going on for the last 2-3 years, and now RSF that is more aligned towards the Arab nations are also getting support from countries like the UAE, other countries there, and their support. They are getting weapons, they are getting supplies, they are also getting other kind of things to continue with this conflict, and that has led to the gains that RSF has made in the last several months. Defeating Sudanese armed forces that are not so well equipped and that are not getting enough funding as far as continuation of this war is concerned. So that is what we are seeing now. RSF making steady gains, and clearly what we are seeing is killing of the Sudanese armed forces, and all the people that are aligned with it are also getting threatened by arrests, by sort of harassment that is taking place in the country. So the situation remains quite bad to the extent that the piles of bodies are now being monitored by satellites of several countries as well.
Right, and the past struggle between Sudanese army and the RSF, we see, has thrown the country into chaos. What is the road ahead for them?
Well, the road ahead looks quite murky, Shubhendu, because what we are seeing is essentially a civil war taking place in a country in Africa that already is one of the poorest countries in the world, that is quite low on humanitarian indexes, that is quite low on the supplies and food supplies and other kind of essentials that are required by the people there. So the situation remains quite murky. We don't know what exactly is going to happen with the kind of mindless killing that is taking place in the country. It's also, the violence is also based on the ethnic divide too. Especially when it comes to the world is quite worried, but the kind of steady gains that the RSF is making and the kind of atrocities that they're committing is also putting a question mark on the support by the Arab nations who are sort of enabling this killing of the population, and there is no trials happening. There are no trials as such happening. It's just rule of the might, and people with the guns are killing people that don't have the essential supplies and they don't have enough guns to fight them. So the situation remains quite complicated at this point in time, and the road ahead looks quite murky.
Akshay, thank you for that detailed roundup.